Bada bing, bada boom.
Welcome back to Behind Closed Doors. Today we're discussing about crime during the late 18s and the early 19s.
I'm Beta.
Melanie. I'm Tanya.
I'm Brittany.
So what do you guys think are like the primary or like the main causes that led to all of this like crime during this era?
Well, I'll start off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, during this time, a lot of people were moving into the city looking for jobs and opportunities, but there wasn't enough jobs.
There was also like poverty happening. A lot of people were like losing their jobs just because like technology was coming into this era.
Yeah, like into the
And-
factories.
Yeah, so I think many people lost their jobs, which like made them lose their income they provided for their family. So they'd like go to violence as their last solution, and
Stealing
they'd
from people and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
kill people even.
Okay. Well, what do you like? Adding on, like, what technology do you think was like taking away these jobs?
I think like new factories opening up and new machines getting invented into these factories took away a lot of jobs from the people working in these factories, which led to people obviously losing their jobs. So yeah, new machines being invented basically.
Right now.
What do you think there are some solutions to cut the problem?
I think some solutions would be like introducing shifts, because like back then there was no like policies for that. Everyone would have to work from 1 hour to like late.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so if I think if they introduced shifts or like gave jobs to people to like maintain those machineries, then it would have like solved the problem at least by a little bit.
Oh yeah, because they need to cut their hours. Because there were very long hours, and then it was unhealthy. It wasn't good for the people. So
Yeah, I think that's like a big problem was the fact that the working like
environment.
the working environment was very dangerous and there was really no like safety protocols to go with them. So I think yeah, and especially like raising pay, I think
Sure.
that would have been much needed in that era.
Yeah, especially since there's like yeah, like you said, there's not that many like safety protocols. So there's people getting harmed during these jobs, and which also could have caused them to lose their job.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there should have been something in place.
You know what I also think? I feel like they should have done like breaks.
Oh,
You know how
yeah.
we have lunch
Mm.
breaks, and people would get sleep deprived. Like they would go
Mm.
insane. And I think the break would be good.
Yeah, and like have other people take place during
Yeah.
those people
Yeah,
breaks.
like-
Yeah,
Like even with this, like it would cost a lot of money, but like don't you think it'd be like the responsibility of those who are hiring them, like such as a factory, the government, like maybe even the police could have gotten involved with this.
yeah, but like it would be a lot of money, so they probably wouldn't want to do that, which is why they didn't like hire more people and like gave long hours, because there wasn't a lot of money during that time. But I feel like they still should have done something.
I feel like the neglect of the government also had a lot to do with the crime that went down. Like you neglected these people for so long. You basically abused them into working. And these people of course they got desperate. Of course they turned to crime, to whatever they did, to murder, to robbery. Of course they turned to that. Who wouldn't in like that much stress put on them?
Yeah, like there would be a lot more problems introduced, because people would think that it was unfair that this person got a job and they didn't.
Mm.
There would be a lot of, but he got this, why
A lot of
didn't I get?
favoritism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
there
like
would be,
everybody should have the same exact resources. At the end of the day, the government or the factory should be able to provide the same exact resources to keep it all fair.
Yeah, but during this time there's like segregation and all that, so
Yeah.
it made it, and there were people that weren't seen as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it would have been hard during this time to do what we're talking about right now, because it was unfair during this time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's any issues now that were like in the 2000s that could be like somewhat related or similar to what happened in that era.
Yes.
Such as
Yes.
The presidential debate. I feel like there's a lot of opinions, and I feel like everyone needs to see like the problems that they both have,
Mhm.
and come together and try to fix that first being all blind.
Yeah.
Basically, is the blind leading the blind, and I think that isn't fair. And
Yeah, and I think there is a lot of immigrants coming to Arizona or coming to the U.S., to Texas, wherever, where a lot of immigrants from Mexico coming to Arizona and just committing a lot of crime. And that basically stereotypes us as just people who just come here to commit crime. They don't want to work. They don't want to contribute
lazy,
to community. We're lazy. We just want to commit crime. I feel like that does have like a lot to do with the unfairness that we are treated. We're constantly discriminated. There's a lot of prejudice, like beliefs, like
I feel
still
like
nowadays.
Even like when it happened with the police when they killed one of the black guys, George Floyd.
Yeah.
I feel like that also like showed how discrimination is still here during this time. And like there's a lot of cops without even knowing it that are out there just targeting people just for their color or for their race, and like we try to solve it and constantly we cannot find a solution, or we find a solution and like people decide not to keep up with that solution and ignore it and like do what they want. And so the government turns kind of like a slight blind eye on it also. Like they could be acting more on this and like making more solutions for us.
Yeah, it was the same thing during COVID. A lot of people, I wouldn't say it's like exactly the same, but people were losing their jobs due to COVID, and there was a lot. I feel like there wasn't more crime, like a crime rise, but there was people that like lost a lot of money to it,
Yeah.
and had their life changed because of it. Not just because of the sickness, but because of like the economy.
The cost went up too, kind of during COVID a little.
Inflation.
The
Mhm.
government took a while to also help us out. Education was
I feel like the
difficult.
world was like on pause,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
world definitely
Which-
stopped during that.
and I
time.
feel like we went back a few steps, which did not help.
Yeah,
at
and
all.
then during that COVID time is when the George Floyd incident happened.
Yeah. So I
Mm.
feel like that's where a lot of stuff came
Yeah.
from. Just because like we weren't that violent, but it did cause some
Yeah, there were
That
a bunch
violence
of
because like
eyes to a lot
we
of
felt
people.
we felt a lot of people felt desperate to like
Yeah,
come
yeah.
out of this.
The
Yeah,
George
like the
Floyd
protests?
movements, definitely,
Yes.
or the riots, whatever you want to call it. There was a lot of rioting. People like breaking into shops, stealing things. A lot of people hurting other people.
Yeah,
Like
very
I saw
similar
videos
to,
of like people like running over people just because they felt like empowered by that movement in themselves. And that death really caused a really big movement
Mhm.
within like not even just now, within like all of U.S., not even just Arizona.
That started it.
Mhm.
That was the
so
last
everything
fight.
where people were more into fighting for what is
And
what
that
they
kind of
believe
like
is right.
opened
Yeah.
eyes. A lot of people were just kind of like, yeah, discrimination is still present and still within our community.
Mhm.
That's it.
I think that's it.
Well,
Okay,
thank
guys.
you for listening to Behind Closed Doors in this episode today about crime.
In our first ever episode, our last ever
Our
episode.
last
episode,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope y'all liked
Bye.
it.